Hi, I'm here with Mike Trask, who is the Director of Marketing at Ainsworth Game Technology, or sometimes just known as plain old Ainsworth.
Absolutely.
Now, Mike, you've been in the slot machine business for how many years?
I've been doing this 7-8 years now with a larger company for quite some time, and then I've been over here at Ainsworth for about a year.
I need to get your input on your answers to these 9 questions that players often have about slot machines.
Sounds good.
All right, number 1, are slots set to pay out at set intervals or once they've collected a certain amount of money?
So a slot is totally random. You hit the button, as we've discussed in some previous videos, you hit the button, it pulls a random number out of a generator that is moving nonstop. So no, there's no guy watching on the camera seeing if you're the person who deserves to get the big jackpot. There's no, it's going to hit at 8:53 today for the biggest bang for the casino, the most people on the floor. It's totally random in just about every spin.
All right, now I guess now there's probably one change to this, though, since the video was originally made, because now you have all these must-hit-by slots.
Sure.
And I wanted to do a separate video on that, sure. but those would fall in a different category where those actually will pay out.
Correct. So on Ainsworth's must-hit-by jackpots, which you'll see certainly throughout Florida, California, Nevada, just about every place in the U.S. that folks will be watching this video. So let's just say it is a jackpot that starts at 350 and must hit by 500. So when somebody hits that jackpot, it returns to 350. At that point, a random 1-cent indicator is chosen between $350 and $500. So that number could be, $467.28, let's say. So $467.28 is locked in. So as people are playing, that jackpot will hit when it gets to that exact cent notation on the game, as you see here.
All right, so that would be just one slight difference from the old information.
A very minor difference, but as for players, if you are looking at it in theory, those games will have a different odds set, and you can see when you're going to hit that jackpot. You can try to predict it, if you will.
All right, question number 2. If a machine has a chip to pay back at a 93% rate, does that mean if I put $100 through that machine, I'll have $93 left when I'm done?
Unfortunately not. So the way a payback percentage works, it's over an indefinite period of time. So is what you're often looking at a 90% payback or 93% payback. Well, sure, say $100 are put in, but that could be one $90 win on, perhaps 5 people putting $20 in. So again, the way it's set on payback percentage is a lower volatility game. That payback is going to come in smaller increments. Right? It's going to come in these $1, $2 wins that certainly anyone who's played slots knows all about and has hit thousands of times in their life. So lower volatility games are going to have way more of those type of pays. Where a higher volatility game is going to have that, so to speak, that one massive jackpot that is going to cover across the bulk of the payback percentage, as opposed to breaking it up into smaller chunks.
Very good. Question number 3. If I play a slot machine and it's not paying out, does that mean it's due to hit soon?
It's all about the random number generator. So to do is each independent spin has no correlation on the next spin or the previous spin. So if you're a player, almost think of it like a roulette table. The ball goes around, it lands in 36. He pulls the ball out, the ball's going around again. The same exact odds of it landing in 36 remain true on that next spin. The same can be said for slots. There is no correlation between each individual spin.
Okay, now here's a similar question. If I play a slot machine and win a jackpot, will that machine stop paying out to make up for the jackpot that I won?
The same principle is at play here. If you are sitting on let's say, a roulette table again, or a keno, or a lotto, that if your 3 keno numbers hit on a keno card, the next hand of keno, it has no impact. The previous hand has no impact. So each individual spin is a standalone event which is pulling from the random number generator. So it's irregardless of the last, there could just as luck, you have just as good a chance as hitting that jackpot on the first spin right after you hit your last jackpot as you do after a cold streak. Your odds do not change. It's an independent event. We all have hot streaks and cold streaks, that's for sure.
Well, I know when people are done playing this, oh, that machine was so hot or that machine was so cold, but you only know it after the fact. There's no way to tell beforehand.
That is correct. That is correct. That's kind of the genius of games. That's the fun of the whole experience of going into a casino, is that you get lucky sometimes, other times you don't, but you're going to have a tremendous experience and you're going to have stories to tell with your friends and so forth. So, it is about luck at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. Number 5. Do casinos change the payback percentages on a machine at the flip of a switch? Or can they loosen machines during the week and then tighten them up on the weekend?
It's very rare that you're going to see those things happen. The actual payback percentage of a machine is inside a chip that is inside this box. So this box is a piece of hardware. Think of it as your PlayStation at home. The actual information that contains the gameplay and the graphics, as well as the random number generator that's playing the game, is actually a piece of software that is inside the game. And so it's a casino would have to go through a decent amount of work to change that. It's not as simple as flipping a switch. It's kind of one of those old wise tales, right? Like, oh, they turn it down during the weekend, when there's no play. That's essentially untrue in the vast majority of cases.
Well, I know that people always think that, but when I did the old video, server-based gaming was just starting to be introduced.
Sure.
Now, server-based gaming, theoretically, someone could sit in an office and flip a switch to change the payback percentage on the machine. Now, it's my understanding that server-based gaming has not become very widespread. Do you know how widespread it is in the industry now?
It's a very small niche park. Here at Ainsworth, we don't have anything that would be a server-based game in a Class 3 environment. The closest thing we would have to server-based games is some games in places like Oklahoma. There's a few places in Southern California that are tribal casinos that are running as a bingo-based server, and players will be able to tell that. You will see the bingo cards on your game screen if you are playing one of those, and that is essentially drawing the results of the RNG from a central bingo game as opposed to within the game.
Question number 6. Do slot manufacturers purposely program a near-miss feature into their slots to make it seem like you almost won a jackpot?
So the programming would be, yes, called an anticipation. Now, we're certainly not purposely putting in a near miss. It is part of the random number generator, but there is an anticipation. You'll get the first two coins marking free games, and it may slow down, correct, to give you a better look at if you're getting that third coin for a free game session. Things of that sort are programmed in for entertainment, and the feedback we get from players is they love that feeling. There's that feeling of excitement. The key is as you're building this game, you do have to have the correct modeling and so forth that people are winning a good portion of that time, or it becomes a frustrating experience. So, manufacturers are walking that line, but it is intentional that for instance, the fourth and fifth reel may slow down if you're looking for that third item that gives you a free games feature.
All right, I had done an interview years ago with regulators at the Nevada Gaming Control Board, and I think years ago there was a slot manufacturer, and what they did was if they knew you were going to have a losing spin, it would go into a secondary program, and they would put like jackpot, and then the jackpot would be down here or up there. So that was purposely programmed in there. I know that they're not allowed to do that, but sometimes it's my understanding that because of the mapping process, it may look that way.
So you cannot show people those things. You cannot try to essentially tease the player, nor would you want to. It's simply usually a bad game in that case. But you can slow it down. You can have those sounds that come through on the final couple reels that will increase the excitement of looking for that jackpot. But you cannot, for instance, change the layout of a reel strip to reflect that.
Suppose I play a machine for 30 minutes, and as I'm leaving, someone sits in my machine and they hit a jackpot. Would I have won that jackpot if I stayed at that machine?
The short answer is maybe. Certainly it is, again, everything that happens when you hit that spin is a random event. So it is different in the fact that a blackjack table is a perfect example of this, right? At a blackjack table, if the person next to you hits or stays, absolutely impacts that next card in the shoe, right? So you have those blackjack players certainly who say, oh, why'd he hit? That would have been my ace or my face card. That is not true in a slot machine. It is eternally changing in there. It is eternally sort of think of spinning the balls, so to speak. And so there is not a set sequence of events that a game is following. So the person sitting down and hitting the jackpot, as soon as you left, it certainly happens. It's happened to me more than I'd like to admit, but it was not a pre-scripted event or anything of that sort. It's simply that person's spin was luckier than yours.
All right, now, when in the old video, I answered that question as no, and I'm looking back on it, I should have said maybe.
Sure.
Because, the chances are that they would have hit the button at the exact same second or microsecond to stop the random number generator on the same winning combination. It's very unlikely.
It is literally fractions and fractions and fractions of seconds, so it's extremely unlikely, and that continues to move. And I say maybe more on the case in that, hey, each spin you might be that lucky one.
All right, so it could happen that they would win the jackpot, but very unlikely.
I would say that is extremely rare, and that if you believe that happened to you, go buy some lotto tickets.
Okay, question 8. Do casinos really put looser machines by the entrance doors or on the aisles?
Typically, no. Typically, a casino is going to be set very close to the same level across an entire property. This idea that you always want the winners to be right where everyone can see them is again, it's part psychology, and that people always notice the jackpots, right? And the mind can get you excited about that. But no, there tends to be not a huge difference in those percentages across the casino floor.
Because what I've heard from slot directors that I've interviewed, a lot of times they say, well, the machines on the aisles, on the ends of the aisles, they get played more often, and naturally they're going to have more jackpots.
Absolutely. So on any slot floor, games that are on an aisle tend to be played more, as well as if you have 3 games in a row, the ones on the sides tend to be played more than the middle one. But these are just things that the way you lay out a slot floor and the space configurations. And of course, if a game is played more, it will hit more, just mathematically over time.
All right, last question. When I get...
Hey, you said 8.
No, 9. When I get to a pick'em bonus round on a video slot machine, and I have to choose from various symbols to determine my bonus, does it really matter which symbols I choose, or is it all predetermined?
So it can happen either way. So the telltale sign is if this was truly a random pick, or if this was something that was pre-scripted or predetermined during a game, is often when you're picking through a screen and picking your items, at the end when you're collecting either your coin awards or your number of free games or what have you. So when you are collecting, if it reveals what you missed, what you didn't pick, then it tends to be, yes, that truly was a random event. Some new games you're seeing come out, you will pick an item, but it will never tell you what you didn't pick, and that's often a sign that a game, it was predetermined what you had from the moment you hit the spin button.
Okay, but now that's fairly relatively new within the industry. And years ago, was it actually mattered what you picked? Because they always revealed them back then.
Over time, people have certainly done these kind of predetermined bonuses but again, just generally speaking, if what the games are out right at this moment, that would be a way you can tell. But the majority of games are going to be essentially, it is going to be a real scenario on your pick that it is truly you're making a decision.
Okay, so if they reveal it at the end, what you picked mattered. If they don't reveal it, it was predetermined. Essentially
close to that, and there's certainly exceptions to that rule, but generally speaking, when you're out there, you're playing at your local casino or you're playing on the strip, that's something to keep in mind if that type of thing matters to you as a player.
Okay, Mike Trask from Ainsworth, thank you very much for taking time to speak with us today.
Absolutely, always a pleasure, Steve.